I stole money from my parents, and they never found out. Growing up, my family was far from wealthy. My parents worked tirelessly to make ends meet, often juggling multiple jobs to provide for my siblings and me. As the oldest of three, I always felt a sense of responsibility to help out, but as a teenager, my understanding of right and wrong was still developing. It all started when I was 15. My best friend, Alex, came from a well-off family. He had the latest gadgets, the coolest clothes, and an endless supply of spending money. Hanging out with Alex was both exhilarating and a constant reminder of what I didn't have. While he never flaunted his wealth, I couldn't help but feel envious. One day, Alex invited me to a concert. It was for our favorite band, and the tickets were pricey. Knowing my parents couldn't afford it, I initially declined. However, Alex insisted, offering to cover my ticket if I could just pitch in for transportation and food. The temptation was overwhelming. I didn't want to miss out on this experience, but I had no money to spare. That evening, as I was searching through the kitchen drawer for a pin, I stumbled upon my mom's emergency cash stash. It wasn't much, just a few $20 bills hidden among old receipts and coupons. My heart raced as I stared at the money, a battle waging in my mind. I knew it was wrong, but the allure of the concert and fitting in with my friends was too powerful. I took one of the 20s, convincing myself it was just a loan. I'd find a way to pay it back before my parents noticed. But that wasn't the last time. The thrill of having money to spend was intoxicating, and I soon found myself taking more. A few dollars here, a couple of 20s there. Always just enough that I thought it wouldn't be missed. Weeks turned into months, and my small thefts became a habit. I used the money for various things: movies, snacks, and even a new pair of shoes I desperately wanted. The guilt gnawed at me, but I kept pushing it down, promising myself I'd stop after the next time. One afternoon, my mom mentioned that she couldn't find the money she had put aside for groceries. She chalked it up to misplacing it, but I could see the worry in her eyes. That was my wake-up call. I realized the true impact of my actions. My parents were working so hard, and here I was, adding to their burden. I decided I had to make things right. I got a part-time job at a local diner, saving every penny I earned. It took months, but I finally managed to replace the money I had taken. One evening, when no one was around, I slipped the cash back into the drawer. The relief was immense, but the guilt remained. I had betrayed my parents' trust, and even though they never found out, I knew I had to do better. Years later, as an adult, I look back on that time with a mix of shame and gratitude. Shame for my actions, but gratitude for the lessons they taught me. I learned the importance of honesty, integrity, and the true value of hard work. My parents never discovered my secret, and to this day, it's a chapter of my life I keep to myself. But it shaped me into a better person, and for that, I'm thankful. The most ironic part? Alex and I lost touch after high school. The things I did to fit in with him seem so trivial now. Life has a way of teaching us lessons in the most unexpected ways. And while I'll never forget my teenage mistakes, they've made me more empathetic, more understanding, and far more appreciative of the sacrifices my parents made for our family. Looking back, I realize how easily I could have taken a different path. One where my actions spiraled out of control, leading to more significant consequences. But I was fortunate. The experience humbled me and instilled a sense of responsibility that I carry with me to this day. I eventually went on to college, majoring in business and working part-time to support myself. The values my parents had tried to teach me finally took root. I became fiercely independent, determined never to take shortcuts again. The satisfaction of earning my own way was far more rewarding than any thrill from stolen money. In my final year of college, I met Lisa. She was smart, driven, and had a keen sense of right and wrong that reminded me of my parents. We started dating, and it wasn't long before I confided in her about my teenage transgressions. I expected judgment, maybe even disgust, but instead, she listened with compassion and understanding. Sharing my past with her was a form of redemption, a way to confront my guilt head-on. After graduating, I landed a job at a reputable firm. I worked hard, climbing the ranks and proving my worth. My parents were proud, always expressing how happy they were to see me succeed. They had no idea how much their unconditional love and support had shaped my journey. I owed them everything, and I knew it was time to give back. With my first significant bonus, I decided to surprise my parents. They had always dreamed of a trip to Italy, a place they'd talked about wistfully but never had the means to visit. I booked the flights, the accommodations, and even a guided tour of the places they'd longed to see. When I handed them the tickets, the look of sheer joy on their faces was worth every sacrifice. Lisa and I got married a year later. It was a beautiful ceremony, filled with family, friends, and heartfelt vows. My parents stood by my side, beaming with pride. During my speech, I took a deep breath and confessed. I told everyone about the money I'd stolen, the guilt I'd carried, and how it had driven me to be a better person. My parents were shocked, but their response was one of love and forgiveness. They hugged me tightly, my mom's tears soaking my shirt, and my dad's grip firm and reassuring. Life has a way of coming full circle. My mistakes as a teenager led to some of the most important lessons of my life. They taught me about responsibility, integrity, and the importance of facing one's actions. They also showed me the power of forgiveness and the strength of family bonds. Now, as a father myself, I strive to instill these values in my own children. I share my story with them, hoping they'll learn from my mistakes and understand the significance of honesty and hard work. Every time I look at them, I'm reminded of how far I've come and the incredible journey that shaped who I am today. My parents, now retired, often talk about their trip to Italy, recounting their adventures with a sparkle in their eyes. It's a reminder of the joy I was able to bring them, a small repayment for the sacrifices they made for me. And while I can never erase the guilt of my teenage years, I can continue to honor my parents through my actions, ensuring their love and lessons live on in the legacy I leave behind. In the end, it's not about the mistakes we make, but how we choose to learn and grow from them. My story is a testament to the power of redemption, the strength of family, and the enduring impact of our choices. It's a story I carry with pride, knowing it has made me a better son, husband, and father. As I settled into my new life, I found myself reflecting more and more on the choices I had made and the person I had become. The guilt of my teenage years, though diminished, never completely vanished. It was always there, a small reminder of the lessons I had learned and the journey I had taken. One evening, while sitting with Lisa, she suggested something that changed my life once again. "Why don't you write about it?" she said. "Your story could help others. It could be a way to finally put your guilt to rest." I was hesitant at first. Writing about my experiences meant opening up old wounds and making myself vulnerable. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized she was right. Sharing my story could be cathartic, not just for me, but for others who might be struggling with similar feelings of guilt and remorse. I began to write, pouring my heart and soul into the pages. I wrote about my family, the pressures I felt, the decisions I made, and the consequences that followed. I wrote about my journey to redemption and the lessons I had learned along the way. As I wrote, I found myself reliving those moments, feeling the same emotions I had felt back then. But this time, there was a sense of clarity and understanding that hadn't been there before. I saw my younger self with new eyes, filled with compassion rather than judgment. The writing process was long and sometimes painful, but it was also incredibly rewarding. When I finally finished, I felt a sense of peace that I hadn't felt in years. I decided to publish my story, hoping that it would resonate with others and perhaps help them on their own journeys. The response was overwhelming. I received messages from people all over the world, sharing their own stories of guilt, mistakes, and redemption. Many thanked me for my honesty and for giving them hope that they, too, could find their way back from their own missteps. Through this experience, I realized that my story was not just about me. It was about all of us, our struggles, our mistakes, and our ability to learn and grow. It was about the power of forgiveness, both from others and from ourselves. Lisa and I continued to build our life together, and our family grew with the arrival of our children. As a father, I made a conscious effort to teach my kids the values that I had learned through my own